Okay. So first, I welcome a remark from Professor Simon Haber, the director of the School of Cultural History and Language.
Okay, thanks very much.
Do you want to show the screen? Or?
Yes, that would be good. I'm sure people.
Yep.
I'm not sure they want to really see me in full full vision, but that's fine. Just like to say welcome to everybody. Wonderful to see such interest in this program. It's really important for our school, our School of Culture, History and Language at the Australian National University. We have a really strong focus on languages, so it's wonderful that we can put together these kind of events and bring everybody from essentially all around the world if people are joining from far afield. Just to begin with though, I'd like to acknowledge and celebrate the first Australians on whose traditional lands we meet. Wherever you are, here in Canberra, we're on Ngunnawal land, and it's a real privilege to be here, and we pay respects to the elders of that Ngunnawal people, past and present. And also welcome to everybody who's joining us today. And I know we have some guest speakers from South Korea and Singapore, and from closer areas such as Sydney. So welcome to you as well, and I'm sure Associate Professor Dak Young will introduce you as we go through the day. So this session is really about virtual reality and language education, and in this time of COVID and being a little bit more restricted than we have experienced in the past, it's really important that we grapple with the ways we teach and try and assist and improve and innovate in this space where we are here on Zoom at the moment. But I think over this next couple of hours, we'll hear about some wonderful innovations and potential that can be adopted to language education, and virtual reality is one of those really exciting spaces that our school in particular is really keen to develop and promote and explore, essentially. And so it's wonderful to see this gathering here to do just that. And a little bit more about our school. I'm sure many of you perhaps are familiar with the languages we offer, but we're in a very privileged position, I think, to be able to offer a wide range of languages from the Asian Pacific region, some 16 different languages. And so it's a really wonderful environment to be in, where you've got such diversity and such interest in language education. And I think the kind of speakers we have today and the topics that are being covered really reflect this, I think, continuing and hopefully growing interest in the teaching and education space in languages in Australia and beyond. So I'd really like to congratulate Associate Professor Dak Young and Grazia Scotellaro and Ethan Zhang, who are essentially have been organising this flagship for us and the seminars today, and everybody else has been involved as well. Just really thank you for your efforts, and I really hope it's going to be a successful day. So with that, I'll hand back to Dak Young Ling and enjoy the seminar series.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Thank you very much. Okay, so we start, but before we start the first presentation, I'd like to say a word about how we came up with the idea to hold this session. And share probably with some my experience of using IT and devices and facilities. Let me share this one. Okay, speed, yeah, my bit of sharing experience of my first engagement with IT facilities and using computers. I was studying in Japan for my last year of BA degree and further MA program in the mid and late 1980s. Those days in Japan, we had all the processor, as you can see there, in Japanese WAPRO, which specialized in document production. In Japan, typing devices were developed very late, much later than English typewriters, because of the kanji, the Chinese characters. These characters are ideograms and requires complicated technology to bring to the typing system. When I was writing my MA thesis, we are allowed to type our thesis using word processor or our personal computers. But I found that we are just lucky because just a couple of years before, students had to write their thesis by hand using fixed writing papers called in Japanese, it's Genko Yoshi. I had to they had to write by hand, or one by one, normally around 300 to 40 pages, and sometimes more than 500 pages. I saw a couple of very thick, like a thick MA thesis. It's MA only, but it's wrote something like 600 some pages. It's amazing effort and time as I required. I used a laptop to write my thesis. I think it was the very first commercialized laptop in Japan. It's a black one. I forget the name, but it's the price is very challenging. I did my part-time job 3 weeks to save money to buy it. It cost about Australian nearly 4,500 the recommended prices, but came down like $3,000. But what you can do is it has, if my memory is correct, it had 64 kilobytes memory RAM or something like that. It's you have to pay $3,000 for that. And also, I saw a couple of big desktops in the computer room in the university, the research spaces for postgraduate students. And one of them was IBM desktop, which used the 8-inch floppy disk. I think this one is 8-inch. You have to push it, 2 hands push it, and the local is very also big, click and something like that. But luckily, I didn't have to use it as we had a 5¼ inches floppy disk kit like this, and also it quickly became smaller to 3.5 inches. But using them, I needed lots of patience to boost the writing program. I inserted the first floppy disk, and then the computer worked with it for a while, making noise, jing, click, click, something like that. I think it's a computer read the information. And then it required me to replace the second floppy disk, then click, and then require the third one. And then now I can use the writing program. That time was, I think it still exists. At that time is the writing a document writing program called Ichitaro is very popular in Japan. I think it's, yeah, if you have similar age, you may have a similar, share the similar experiences. And since the 1990s, as we know, so many new technologies were developed so quickly. We got the USB instead of a floppy disk. I remember I paid the 99 Australian dollar for Apple USB, which had 1 gigabyte storage. That time 1 gigabyte is still a huge amount compared to the floppy disks, but at that time was $99. And you also got the internet and emails and lots of different versions of mobile phones and tablets. Everything moved so quickly. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is that this session was motivated by our hope and belief that whatever we imagine, it will come true one day. What I said is just 30 years ago. And that time I didn't know, didn't even dream that we would use such advanced technology like in the near future. Such a fast internet, mobile phones, and very light and thin laptops, and even holding classes these days is remotely, and so forth. It's just part of our daily life now. It all happened within the past 10, 15 years. So what lies behind all of this is that someone imagined and designed these things, these technologies. So in terms of language education, as you know, learning language requires the acquisition of many different types of things, vocabulary, grammar, and also sentence patterns, cultural aspects, and so forth. So as a language teachers, we might have a question. How can we use advanced technology for our language education? What underlies this session is to create an opportunity for us to consider how we can adopt the latest technology to teach and learn this kind of vocabulary, grammar, the stuff, including cultural aspect in our language teaching. So I hope the presentations in this session give you some insights, thereby you and we together expand our imagination to use new technologies or beyond for our language classes. Okay, so that's all I want to share. Thank you for listening. So I hope that we get a little bit more warm up to go to the more serious stuff. So program goes like this. We have a 5 presentation. After having 2, we have a 10 minutes of break, and then go for other 3 presentations. Before we start the first presentation, let me briefly talk about the housekeeping items. First, please keep your mic mute during each presentation. And second, after a presentation, if you have a question or comments, just you can type on the chat box and send to me. I have a question or simply question or comments about that. Or you might have a different option. You just put your hands up and then after presentation, then we can start question and answer time. And then presenter will answer in the order of questions appearing in the chat until we run out of time. Okay, that's warm-up session. Okay. Okay, then we start with Ethan and Grazia from the ANU. They talk about VA and AV. Okay, yeah, pass to you, Grazia.
Thank you, Doc. And yes, we are ready to start. So Ethan, if you want to start sharing our PowerPoint, and I will have to turn off my video because my internet connection at home is a little bit shaky. So welcome to our presentation on VR and AR. My name is Grazia Scotellaro, and I am the Education Design Team Leader and Senior Educator of the College of Arts and Social Sciences.
Hello, my name is Ethan Zhang, and I am the Education Technologist at the School of Culture and History and Language at ANU.
So in this presentation, we are going to cover VR and AR and what is the difference, how you can start with simple and affordable solutions. We're going to show you some AR and VR demonstration, and then we're going to just have you talk a little bit of ideas how you can use VR and AR in language education. Next slide. So VR stands for virtual reality, and this type of interaction allowed the participant with the use of specialized goggles, hardware, and appropriately designed environment to fully immerse in places and situations. For example, you can visit an ancient city or walk in a forest without physically being there. Depending on the level of sophistication, it can feel incredibly real, especially in environments that are supported not only with visuals, but also with sound. AR means augmented reality. In AR, instances are triggered by something like an artifact. So for example, a page with some writing or images or an object in conjunction with your mobile device. Once the AR activity or experience is created using the appropriate software, an app on your mobile device makes the artifact come alive, which we're going to show you. And an activity or resource like a video or an animation will appear every time the mobile device is scanned over the artifact. So we're going to just play you a very, very short video to just give you an idea what AR and VR is. Now, both VR and AR have come a long way from their first beginning. In the past, it was very expensive and technically challenging to create AR and especially VR experiences. Nowadays, both hardware and software are becoming less expensive and the creation process is becoming easier from a technical aspect. This does not mean that there are not high-end examples of both VR and AR, and VR especially can be very costly and a complex project if you are using purposely set up rooms with all the latest technology and very sophisticated software. But, you know, in this slide, we've actually put some examples that you can go and explore in your own time. We are going to make this presentation available for you, but what we are going to be doing is actually a little bit easier for you. Next slide. Now, for our presentation, we would like to show you the possibility for the average teacher who is interested in experimenting with AR and VR. So today we will talk about 4 solutions in particular. CoSpaces EDU, Unity Platform, Vuforia Engine, and ThingLink. And as I said, you have all the links when we're going to share with you the PowerPoint presentation. And now it is over for Ethan for his demonstration.
Thank you, Grazia. As Grazia mentioned, virtual reality is a medium that allows the viewer to get immersed into a virtual 3D experience, usually by looking through the lens of a VR headset. In a virtual environment, the viewer can move and look around, and sometimes even interact with the virtual content. So here's a demo to show you the idea of using VR for language learning.
Hello, welcome to the School of Culture, History and Language at ANU. Would you like to learn a language? You can choose from the following on the screen. Let's learn how to say hello in Japanese.
こんにちは。
Let's learn about animals. I will show you the king of the jungle. That's right, this is a lion. In Japanese, to say a lion, you say
ライオン。
That's all for now. I hope you enjoy the demo. See you next time.
Okay, so this demo is created by the CodeSpace. It is a very easy to use online platform. So how to create this one? Only 3 simple steps. So first, use the object from the CodeSpace's library, or you can upload your own 360-degree image and videos. You can also upload sound file or 3D models. So the second step is to use the visual block-based programming to animate and code. As you can see on the screen, the purple blocks are the visual programming. So you can simply drag and drop them, so no coding experience is required. Once it's done, you can view your creation on the smart device or in a VR headset, just like what we showed you in the video. So with this online platform, you can create real-life scenarios. For example, shopping in the supermarket or meeting a new friend in the school. So virtual reality is the new evolving trend for language learning. So let's move on to the augmented reality. So we can use a smartphone as an AR platform. The smartphone screen becomes a magic window that displays the graphic overlaid on top of the real-world things. So smartphone solution is an easy-to-use and cost-effective entry point for AR. So this demo presents an AR-powered app which identifies the image such as Japanese characters and display the virtual stroke order and help students to remember how to draw the characters. Welcome back. So this app is created by Unity and the Vuforia engine. So the Unity is a 3D development platform, and the Vuforia engine is the plugin to the platform. So how it works, the app utilizes the image tracking feature to track the image on a physical object. In this demo, the Japanese character image is the physical object. Once it's been identified, the software matches the virtual object to the physical one. So this platform not only takes images and videos, Unity can work with 3D models of any shape. And because everyone has a mobile phone, so your learning material can become virtual and easily accessed from anytime, anywhere. The technology only continues, will only continue to improve. AI is the next step in the language learning. I will now pass this back to Grazia. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. That was very good. Thank you very much. And hopefully people are starting getting some ideas by watching these demos. And so it's my turn now to show you another very easy to use tool to create VR experiences that you can utilize for your teaching. The tool is called ThingLink, and it works by allowing tagging static or 360 images to provide an engaging experience. Now, we will share that link that you can see at the moment, so you can go and visit on your own pace later on, but we're going to show you a video first. As you can see, we are now in the image, which is the start of our virtual tour. And all these tags I have put in to give some instructions or the navigation of the tour. So for example, this tag will give information about the actual house and what the students will be viewing, visiting. This is connected to a Padlet activity that the students will do while they are exploring the house. So there are my instructions there. And then this is the entry proper of the actual visit. And now we are going to enter one of the rooms. And the students can just move around, explore. All of these tags are something. So for example, this tag is an activity. Describe the painting in the target language, which in this case is Italian. This is to take you to another room, which we're not going to go straight away. This is an audio file. Caminetto. So the students can actually learn what this object or things around the room are called. There is a YouTube video which is connected to this, which I'm not going to play now. You can explore. I'm going to give you the link and you can explore, but there is an activity. Narrate a story of this lady as it was a ghost, like the brown lady story. So this is actually the story of a ghost, and then the students have an activity where they have to narrate a similar story. A little bit of music. And again, you can connect an activity to that. And we are now going to enter another room. This is a utility room, and here there are different tags, recordings to tell students what these objects are called in the target language. Macchina da cucire. So as you can see, there is the text, macchina da scrivere, and also the audio. And we're now going to go to another room. And this time we are in the kitchen, and again, lots of tags and activities. Okay, so there is a recipe, there is a kitchen very similar to this one, and the students then have to do an activity where they have to describe what this person is cooking. I'm not going to play the video, but as I said, I will give you this link and you can explore it by yourself. As I was saying earlier, all these tags I have put in. So the audios I've recorded, the YouTube videos I found, and so on. And so we are now back to the main room. And just to show you basically what this virtual visit is, nothing but 4 360 images and a static image to enter. And all these images basically allowed me to connect one image to the next, giving the impression that you're walking around the house. And as I said, you can view it in the computer like this, but if you have some virtual reality goggles, you can then simply click on this button, wear your goggles, which I don't have at the moment, and basically be immersed in the room. Okay? Please put on your headset. So that is all.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for presentation. Okay, now we to the question and comment time. Floor. Any comments or questions?
I just wanted to say that to create it, simulation walkthrough is just a linking of different images, and we have included some ideas, if Ethan goes to the last slide, of kind of things that you can do for language teaching. So you can use it for vocabulary building, like listening, reading, writing, simulation, describing, giving direction, storytelling, role play, like Ethan said, going to a shop or whatever, and also cultural insight. One of the things that's quite interesting, just this morning, a colleague from Italy sent me a link of some teachers using ThinkLink for remote classes. And I'm going to be sharing this link in the chat with you because I didn't get it to put it in the PowerPoint because it was fresh off the press today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
It's a very quiet. Thank you.
So the link is there at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. If it's no question, I may probably as a language teacher is very interested in using this kind of technology, but probably we also have a little concern about how much time and effort is required. For example, Grazia, how does it take? How long does it take? Did it take to create that?
One of the things that I was going to say is there is a lot of ready-made stuff. So for example, I didn't have to take the photos because there are already 360 photos for free that you can find. And ThinkLink actually gives you access. To do the tagging, to do the entire activity, it didn't take me more than about an hour and a half. It was more the thinking.
Oh, no.
It was more the thinking of what I wanted my students to learn, and and not getting lost in the house, making sure that all the rooms are actually linked in the right order. But to actually create it was very, very easy. Very, very easy.
Okay. Yeah. Suji, if I pronounce correctly.
That's right. So if you wanted to just do your own photos for a particular place or a setting that you wanted to have, like a kitchen, so that you could have food set out and that kind of thing, can you just use your own phone to create?
Yes.
and
Yes.
just upload your own
Upload.
pictures. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
that
you
sounds
can.
brilliant.
Yes,
Thanks.
yes, yes. As I said, because I wanted to get this done as soon as possible for the presentation, I didn't use my own photos, but you can definitely use your own photos. We used it at the beginning of this year to give an example to academics how it was to teach in mixed mode. And we went and took photos of different teaching rooms around the university. So you can definitely use your own photos. Any other question?
Oh, it's a 3:40.
Ethan, do you mind pasting into the chat the link to the PowerPoint? So if people want to have access, they can have access to that.
Yeah, no problem. I'll post it in the chat.
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Of course, you can. Yes.
I'm Shun from the ANU.
Yes.
Hello, Grazia and Nathan. Thank you very much for excellent presentations. This is kind of follow-up type of question about, that asked about, this is excellent. There's a huge potential with language education. And, but obviously there is a bit of a first investment you have to make.
Yep.
And I'm just wondering, because this sort of thing wouldn't happen, overnight, over a semester or something like that, because I'm thinking about entire language program, for example, Japanese or Chinese or Italian or something like that, in terms of investment. Where would you start, if you want to have to start somewhere gradually, little by little? Like this kind of thing is technically, we can make an educational judgment, but technically speaking, it is kind of more appropriate for spoken course, written course, or more like a first year, second year advanced. What's your kind of opinions?
It's actually something you can do with any course, whether it is beginner where you just want to teach them vocab, or whether you want to have more advanced where you take somewhere, and like in my story, you had to listen to a ghost story and then you had to write your own ghost story. As far as, my motto is always start small. So you can do maybe 1 or 2 virtual interaction for your course to start with, to give an idea, get the students used to. But my thinking is, think of something that just explaining it with words or with text does not give the students the appreciation for something. Okay, so if I was teaching Italian, the ability to take somebody in an ancient Italian city and explain how you move around the city, it's so hard to do it in the classroom with just pen and paper. But virtual reality really gives you the impression of being there.
All right, thank you very much. I thought because if you start something like this from the scratch for the first year student, second year student might expect something like this again. You know what I mean? So, but if you don't do it in the second year, for the second year student, they might get disappointed. Kind of stuff I started thinking about. But anyway, thank you very much for your presentation, your opinion.
Start small, and you don't have to do it every week.
Yeah.
You don't have to do. It's not something that you have to do at every single lesson. But think of places where it would really make the difference for students to be embedded in their learning with something so visual.
All right.
Thank you.
Might be a good idea to, okay, yes, Susie, yeah.
Just one more quick question. Is that actually a free software, or do you have to pay for it or get licenses?
So
how does that work?
So I will let Ethan talk about the software he used, but the ThingLink, you can use the free version, and it is sort of good enough that to start with, it's good enough that you can start using it. And even the pay version for the teacher, I think is no more than $60 a year.
Oh, that's good.
So it's actually, it's just a matter of finding out how much you're going to be using it, how many students you have and what you want to do. Start with a free version and see how you go.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what I did.
that sounds brilliant.
Ethan,
Yeah.
do you want to say something about the software you used?
Yeah, sure, no problem. So the first demo was created by the CodeSpaces. In this demo, it was just used the free account, completely free, to create that VR environment. So you always welcome to try it before you invest any money to any software. The second one is created by Unity and Vuforia. Those two software are completely free, and if you have education account, you get the extra license and the package, so you can use from that platform. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think our media department actually uses that as well. So probably we've already got licenses somewhere for that. So that's great to sort of bring it into other departments. Yeah, great idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Back to you, Doc.
But be good idea. I just thought that have a little of a basic facilities. We should already have a software in the common room for student common room or a study room in the corner of some spaces, so that people get more interested in using the Google things and 3D based materials. Probably it's a very quite like I attended another session last week. As always, it didn't have enough time to make so many questions or posts. But probably, for including myself, this VR or AR is a bit not familiar area to many people, including myself. So. I'd like to ask some question, but I don't know how about this occasion makes sense or not. But please don't be shy and just cater your questions for any any comments. Okay, a bit early, 3-4 minutes earlier, but we have Professor Kim join. So if you don't have any further questions, any comments, can you move to the next presentation? Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, Ethan and Grazia. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. We just got the Professor Kim from Yonsei University. From South Korea, one of the very famous big university. It's one of our sister universities with the ANU. She's very kindly agreed to what is working on AR and VR recently. Okay, so Professor Kim, are you ready to start? I can hear you. Probably, please unmute. Yep.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yep. Good.
Okay, good. Very glad to see you because I'm in Asia and Korea now, and I don't know how many Asia people are in here. Okay.
But there's quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm Kim Sung-jo, who is teaching in Yonsei University, especially Korean language, but I'm interested in the new technology in language education. So the title that I talk in here is a VR, virtual reality, and its application in language education. So the contents map or induction is first of all, we have to introduce something about the VR and language education. And the second one is what is VR, virtual reality. And the third one is VR in language education. The fourth is VR in Yonsei University. My university has some plan to develop some VR language education program or content, so I can introduce about it. And fifth is conclusion. Okay, I think almost everybody know about what is the VR, virtual reality. As you know that we are in the fourth industrial revolution time, so university offers or must offer new contents, new method, and new technology. And what we teach and how to teach and non-face-to-face education is, I think, the most important thing in now university education. So what do you think about the present of language education, present time of language education? Wow, face-to-face education is normal education, but it was, now it's not, already in past time. And you know that if you study in textbook, we have to imagine the situation. Imagine if it were, well, if we were in, well, when we learn English, and if we were in New York or Chicago or London, and we can meet the people of them up there, imagine the situation. And generally one-way direction or teacher-centered education, it was. But as you know that nowadays, the method, a new method or new teaching method is spread all over the world, and generally about, I think you are using the student-centered education, but still many classroom uses teacher-centered education. But I think the future of the language education must be changed. At first, not face-to-face education. I think already we are in, but this is forced to us by the coronavirus. And the second one is the future of the language education is immersion of the situation, immersion in the situation. Not the imagination, but the immersion. And the third one is a multi-directional or each student-centered education. As you know that we are oriented by the individualization of education, but it's very hard to apply in the classroom. But it's originated by the many reasons, but well, it's real. We are pursuing the individualization of education, but it's not easy. But the future of language education must be individualization of each student education or something like that. And VR in language education must be spread more. But what is the VR in language education? Education by experience. In Korean language, we have some problem. One time seeing is better than 100 times hearing. Is there a similar problem in your country, in your culture? But I think in expanding meaning, one experience is better than 100 times of seeing or hearing. So the good thing of VR in language education is it can be the education by experience. And the second one is no limit in time and place. Well, I think it's a good thing also in online education. And the third one is self-repeatable education. Or as you know that online education can be applied these things, self-repeatable education, but live class cannot be. Only recorded online class can be self-repeatable. So I think it's a difference. And what is VR? You know what is the first VR? in 1950s, there was some sensorama. It called sensorama. Mr. Morton Hellick invented or introduced the sensorama. This is the earliest virtual reality system. At that time, there was no goggle like this big machine. But you can imagine the first computer, ENIAC, can be like this. It's very huge, yeah? And in 1990s, Sega is a very big company in Japan, the game company. Sega via HMD, they invented virtual reality headset, HMD, with LCD screens, the very small LCD screens in their eyes, and stereo headphone also. It's I think a prototype like of modern times HMD. And what is the newest HMD to make a VR enhanced? I think the best one is the Oculus. 3 days ago, they spread it out. New machine, new HMD. It is called Quest 2. I'll explain later. And what is AR? Augmented reality. AR is an interactive experience of a real-world environment where the objects that reside in the real world are enhanced by computer-generated perceptual information, sometimes across multiple sensory modality. So augmented reality needs some another instrument. For example, some haptic things, some sensory tool. Well, what is the basic difference between AR and VR? The AR glasses is a little bit transparent because it must be added the real world. But VR glass is not transparent. We cannot see through the glass the outside because they only offer the artificial environment. The first AR system is we call virtual fixtures. In 1992, Wright Patterson offered us. At first time, it designed like this, very big, and it's not comfortable and heavy. And now some people say mixed reality. Mixed reality is the merging of real and virtual world to produce new environment and visualization, where physical and digital objects coexist and interact in real time. The mixed reality is when we see something, some tool that is very hard to call artificial augmented reality or AR or virtual reality or VR. As you know that the invention is very new and the technology is proceeding continuously. So when we have new technology, sometimes it's very hard to call it AR or VR. So we invented a new terminology, MR, mixed reality. For example, let me see you, MR.
Mixed reality breaks down the barriers between physical and virtual realities. Let's see how we can alter realities across people, places, and objects. Here we have a real office, populated with real things. Let's now adjust reality by adding virtual objects to this physical space. Notice how these objects are aware of the real surfaces in the office. Next, let's replace the real person with an avatar. This allows her to be present even though she is not physically in the room. Now let's adjust the environment itself and make it virtual. Notice how the virtual objects and avatar continue to persist. Finally, let's tie back this entire virtual scene to the original physical room. A subtle boundary grid can reveal real obstacles, making it safer to walk around this virtual environment. Mixed reality unlocks exciting new experiences that merge the physical and the virtual worlds.
Yeah, so this we call MR. And nowadays, the terminology of XR is very general. XR is extended reality, is a term of referring to all real and virtual combined environment and human-machine interactions generated by computer technology and wearables, where the X represents a variable for any current or future spatial computing technology. So XR is a very generic word. So I made some very short types explanation is XR is a VR plus AR plus MR. And MR is a VR plus AR. So now I think in the future, the XR is a very representative terminology to call this type of technologies. So can you see this picture? MR is VR plus AR, and XR has some 3 points. So I think almost everybody watched this movie, Minority Report. You know, who is this guy? Can you guess? Yes, handsome guy, Tom Cruise. Let's watch this something.
I show 8 Howard marks in the district, sorting by race and age.
Under license registration. See if I can capture an address here.
Running out of time. I was thinking maybe I'd play hooky, stay home today. Right meeting.
Working too much. Can you grab that?
It's unclear.
I got 6 licenses. Where do you want them?
Over here, please.
The first time I watched this movie, wow, is it possible in my age, in my whole life? Because, well, I think it's very hard to realize. This is a technique, very hard to realize. But some years ago, we have a new technology by Microsoft, HoloLens 2. Can you see? Can you watch this?
Today, I get to show you something very special. It's something we've been looking forward to for many years. When we set out to build HoloLens 2, we wanted to create something that you didn't need to learn how to use. You should just know it. And we call this instinctual interaction. Let me show you. Now, as Alex mentioned, HoloLens 2 is very comfortable. It fits just like a hat. And the only thing that's even more effortless is how I'm automatically signed in. With Windows Hello and iOS authentication, the HoloLens 2 is actually signing me in as I put on my device. Now, not only does the HoloLens 2 recognize me, it also recognizes my hands. Look at this. Fully articulated hand tracking. And as I move my hands around, the HoloLens 2 is actually calibrating to my unique hand size. And of course, not only does the HoloLens 2 recognize me and my hands, it also recognizes the world. Welcome to my mixed reality home. This is the place where I have all the apps and content that I use every day. Let's check some of them out. Now, I've seen many people put on HoloLens for the first time, and the first thing people do when they put on the device is they reach out their hands and try and touch the holograms. And now, you can. Look at the way that the holograms are responding to my hand, almost inviting me to touch it. And in fact, I can just grab this corner to resize it. Or I can rotate it, or move it. That's right.
I think this is a female version of Tom Cruise in Minority Report.
This is an app I've got called Spatial.
It's possible now.
I've got another app here called Vuforia View. Now, it's a little big, so let me just use 2 hands here to make it smaller, and then rotate it so you can see. There we go. And then let me put it down here in your Spatial, maybe make it a bit smaller. Yeah, that's nice.
So this kind of
now let's switch gears and
technology
talk about a
can be
different kind of
defined by the
I've got a browser over there,
AR
but it's
or
kind of far
VR.
away, and I don't really
So
want
I
to walk
think
over
in
there.
the
So let me
future
just call it over
we
with
have
my
to
voice.
fix
Me.
the terminology by XR. I think.
This is a
My
browser that's
opinion.
running Microsoft Teams, which is a tool that we use back home to collaborate. Let me see what the team's been working on. Okay, it looks like they've got a surprise for me in the Playground app. I just have to say the words show surprise. All right, so let me just open up that start menu here, and then place the app, and then launch it.
Okay, it's real.
So now we're actually
Also
exiting my
now.
mixed reality home and going into an immersive experience. But
Okay.
notice that that browser that I had actually...
I go next. And VR in language education. Do you know the company Mondly? First character of VR education, VR language education is, I think the title is Go There. Go There in VR. Immersion. Not imagine, immersion. Imagine you were in New York. It's not. It's the past education. The present education or future education is just immersion in the city. The first one is go there, immersion. The second character is talk there, interaction.
Alors aujourd'hui, les filles, on va faire Immerse Me, encore une fois.
Bonjour, bienvenue à la boulangerie. Bonjour, je voudrais du pain, s'il vous plaît. Puis voilà, ça fait 1 € s'il vous plaît.
If you can communicate.
It's not recorded online content, so it can be some. It can have some. They can give us some response. The third character is feel there. You know the method of a total physical response? The virtual reality can offer this. She's fishing in virtual reality. So they can feel in the situation with their hand and with their ear and with their eyes. Okay, it doesn't work now. Oh, just we need some time. Sorry, I'll do it again.
Ready for some fun?
What is happening?
Okay, this is Sophie over here. Say hi to Sophie.
Hi! We're bringing you here today to try something really cool, okay? We're gonna play a game all together with virtual reality. Get ready?
This is so cool.
Great!
There you go. Good job.
With VR, we can feel there. So I want to introduce the VR in Yonsei University. Yonsei has joined with Naver. You know the company Naver? Naver is a #1 IT company, like Google in the state. So we have joined with the Naver to make an online education platform. And we wanna call the platform Y-EdNet. Y means Yonsei Education Net. But my institution, Korean Language Education, is in charge to development of Korean language education content like this. Yonsei University and KLI, Korean Language Education, Y-EdNet, we are developing on Korean language education content. But what is the difference in Yonsei's content? The AR, we have to put in the AR technology in language education. For what? We need some gamification, because this generation, like game, they are used to be gamification, and VR in language education. So with the VR technology, we use a quiz and speaking practice. And we want to use AI in language education. For example, speech recognition. So Naver has some API, it called Clover, speech recognition system. So we'll use this. And second is AI in language education for practice, chatbot, free talking. And the third one is accumulation of the Korean language learners data. This is very important. Generally, native speakers' language can be understood by the API or by the AI system, 85% maybe. But the Korean language learners' pronunciation is very not good. So it's very hard to understand their Korean speaking. So we have to accumulate the data, and it develop better and better. The sole plan of the Yonsei content is in February of next year we'll finish the project. So now we are in new era of post-COVID-19. So non-face-to-face education will be the normal education type. And we have to know about the new generation's need, the individualization and gamification and new instrument. They are very used to be new instrument using. So as you know that nowadays a smartphone is a new instrument. Every day we can meet new instruments. So we have to apply in educational field a new instrument. And as you know that there is no limit of space and time in language education. And well, unfortunately, there is no limit of the number of students. This can be fortunate or it can be unfortunate, because it can be some big school make bigger, a small school make smaller. So it can produce an infinite competition. So it can be some school, for some teachers, opportunity or lack of rentability. So we have to consider about these 5 things in new era of post-COVID-19. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for Professor Kim. Really very interesting story. Okay, pass to the floor for question and any comments. If you have any question and comments, you can unmute your mic and let us know. There's no question. May I ask, this is slightly different. So I really enjoyed your talk, but a bit more general, or how's going your classes in Korean classes in Korea? I mean, you're doing everything is online, or?
Well, in my university, everything is online. We use Zoom.
Okay. Similar situation as many university in Australia. Okay. Yeah. Would you please share some examples? There's some request. Would you please share some examples from, if I pronounce the name, sure. What kind of examples are you talking? You mean later?
Yeah. Now we are we are going on the project to development of content. So I think 3 months or 4 months after or later, we can show you another example of VR content in Korean language. So at that time, if you ask me or invite me again, and I show it to you.
Thank you. That's enough. If there's no questions or comments, you can close the presentation a bit earlier, 3-4 minutes earlier. Projects like those only for Korean. Professor Kim.
Yeah.
This one question from Grazia. Projects like those only for Korean?
Yeah, only for Korean language. But as you know that the online content is very applicable to various languages. So if you finish the Korean language program, and then we can expand to another language. But it depends on the success of our content's development.
Okay. Professor Kim, could you please tell us whether the class size would be one of difficulties in the application of VR in language education? There is a question on the chat from Xiaofei. Could you please tell us whether the class size would be one of the difficulties in the application of VR in language education?
Now we are developing a content without teacher, with the machine, with the VR content, they can study alone. So the number of the student or number of the class, it doesn't matter. But only it matters the money, because to make a VR content it needs some very big money. So we are compromising some two things, is education effect and money.
So yeah, so another money required. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments, we close the presentation. Thank you very much, Professor Kim.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your contribution. Okay, so I just finished just in time. So can you have a 10 minutes of a break? we go to the third presentation. We come back at half past 4. Yep, thank you. You can also use the chat if you like. Chat or talk. I want to have some tea. Okay. Now we can return back to the presentation. Everyone is ready. It's very in the Zoom presentation very difficult. It's whether it's to find the timing in my class online and so forth. Okay, so we now have a third presentation. I'm sorry for your pronunciation. Reed Roban from the Macquarie University. So yeah, pass on to your presentation. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Am I sharing the screen so far?
Yep, good.
Great. Okay. Yeah, might do the other side. There you go. Share that. All right. Can everyone see that?
Yep.
Excellent. Cool. My name is Rhett. Before I begin, I'd just like to do an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land. So for me, it's the Darug people. It'll be different for everyone else respectively. But I also like to pay my respects to elders past and present. And I'd like to extend that respect to any other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today as well. All right. So today I'll be talking to you about Torres Strait Virtual Reality, which is a virtual reality game or simulation that I actually developed at UNSW, so University of New South Wales. I don't know if he's here yet, but Carlos, I think the next person presenting, he was actually my project manager for the project, so for the game. So I'd just like to extend an acknowledgement and a thank you to him as well, and just acknowledge him as well while we're here. But I'm at Macquarie University. I'll be talking to you a little bit about the game and how we implemented it in a variety of different classes. So you all probably know what virtual reality is, but I'll just quickly go through this. So Gerald thinks virtual reality is a computer-generated digital environment that can be experienced and interacted with as if it were a real environment. Southgate says virtual reality replaces the world with an artificial or simulated reality. And of course, there are a whole bunch of potential applications for virtual reality: leisure, learning, training, therapy, and socializing. And for my project, I focused on, it was the learning and educational elements when we implemented it in different classes. So you know what virtual reality is, but you probably don't know that much about the Torres Straits. So I'll introduce you a little bit about that. So in Australia, there's actually two Indigenous groups. There's Aboriginal people, which you all probably know a bit about. And then there's actually Torres Strait Islander people. And Torres Strait Islanders come from the Torres Strait, which is located between Cape York in far north Queensland, so it's the tip of Australia, and between Cape York and Papua New Guinea. And in between there is the collection of islands that is the Torres Straits. So Torres Strait Islander culture is fairly distinct from Aboriginal culture. We have our own fairly distinct languages, way of life, different things that we hunt and we eat. So we tend to be more seafaring people from the Torres Straits. Something else that you might be interested in is that there was actually, and there is still a large Asia Pacific diasporan community in the Torres Straits. So a lot of practices have been integrated into the Torres Strait culture as well. So from Indonesia and Malaysia, some from the Philippines, there were Japanese pearl divers there in the Torres Straits as well. And in fact, that was one of the big industries that we had in the Torres Strait, which was the pearling industry. So back in the old days, on your clothes, you used to use a lot of pearl shells and pearls for buttons. But now that plastics have come in, they've replaced the pearl shells and the pearls, right? So now we export and we make a bit of money by exporting seafood from the Torres Straits. So things like crayfish, I know bêche de mer or sea cucumber, that's very popular in places like China and Japan, and other sorts of seafood that we export. And that's the flag up there. So the flag is the green's the land, blue is the ocean, the black part's the people, and that the white thing covering the star is actually a durry. So that's a Torres Strait headdress. And the 5-pointed star represents the 5 island groups within the Torres Strait. So now you know what a bit about Torres Strait virtual reality is. I kind of led a team to develop the game, and we wanted to use virtual reality, which was at the time and still is a cutting edge technology to teach about culture and knowledge. And we wanted to transform Torres Strait Islander knowledge into a digital and interactive visual experience. So the player, so you would learn and experience culture through play and perspective taking. So I've got a little trailer here that I can play for you guys, so I'll play that now. So that was the trailer. So for their game, there were a few features and pieces of knowledge that we kind of integrated into the game. So we wanted to integrate cultural practices. So things like collecting dugong and turtle for the feast that happens inside the game. Because of the proximity of the Torres Straits to Papua New Guinea, there are traders that come to the Northern Islands. So as a part of the game, you actually have to go into the Northern Islands and collect some different items from the Northern Islands, from Papua New Guinean traders that are there. We also integrated Torres Strait environmental knowledge into the game as well. So things like animal life cycles, seasonal life cycles, as well as we integrated a shifting tide mechanic into the game as well. So it'll move up and down about 4 different times during the day. And we also integrated astronomy into the game as well. So if you look up during the night sky in the game, you'll see kind of different story figures. So there's different constellations there, but they represent different story figures within the Torres Strait as well. And of course, those had navigational uses because Shark was in the north and Tagai's in the south, so the warriors in the south. But that also had a practical use as well in Torres Strait culture, because as the constellations shifted across the sky, these were aligned with the change in animal life cycles and seasonal cycles as well. So when you're going through the game, you'll be told by the narrator about these sorts of things. We also want to depict things like story figures and supernatural beings inside the game. So you can follow the normal route through the game and you won't encounter any story figures, but if you go off track, you might run into a Dugai or the giant, or you saw a giant crab there as well. So you might run into one of these other story or figures or supernatural beings in the game. So the project outcome was that we had developed a prototype game to teach about Torres Strait culture and knowledge. But what was interesting was that we implemented it in a bunch of different classes, but we didn't necessarily use it just to teach Torres Strait culture and knowledge. Rather, we used it from different angles and in different ways depending on the class that we chose. So for example, we implemented it in a serious games design class. And basically with this one, the students had to develop a prototype game for a bank. And this bank was kind of interested in new and innovative ways of selling their products and things like that. And their goal was to develop a game that reinforced saving behavior. So what we did was we used Torres Strait virtual reality as an exemplar to help the students brainstorm. One, because it was a game for learning, but two, it was also a game that leveraged new technology at the time, so virtual reality. So we used it in the serious games class as kind of a brainstorming thing and as an exemplar as well. We used it in our environmental policy course, and that was for the purpose of kind of talking about and illustrating native title. So in Australia, when we think of native title, you usually might think of things like land ownership, but for me, it's more a cultural connection and usage and cultural interaction on the land. So the whole premise of the game is based around a tombstone opening. So in Torres Strait culture, maybe when someone dies, maybe a year or so, or depending when the family can afford it, you have this end of a mourning period that we call a tombstone opening. And that involves an unveiling of a tombstone, of course, but it also involves festivities like singing, dancing, and there's big feast as well. So the premise of the game was that you have to go to this tombstone opening, right? And that it's your job, as in normal, when there's normal tombstone openings, everyone has different duties, right? That in the tombstone opening, it's your duty in the game to go collect dugong and turtle meat, but also go collect things from like drums, mats and spears from the traders on Papua New, in the Northern Islands, from Papua New Guinean traders. So this was we felt, and the lecturer felt this was a good illustration of kind of a cultural connection and cultural practices happening on the islands, and that the player was placed in the perspective of going through this cultural process. And that kind of linked into the cultural use and cultural connection in terms of native title. So that's kind of how we did it for the environmental policy course. Indigenous studies, we used it as a way of showing new ways to communicate Indigenous knowledge. So through very visual and experiential ways. So that's kind of how we did it in the Indigenous Studies course. And then in the education course, the lecturer was keen on putting forward this idea that he calls the politics of process. But for me, that essentially just means that there's certain cultural protocols and processes that you have to go through when you're dealing with Indigenous communities. And so in education, if you go into a community and you're working with the community, you might have to, and you know, if you're teaching about Indigenous content, you might have to interact with the community, maybe get their input for different things and get them on board and kind of try and integrate and get the community involved as much as you can sometimes. And for me, when I was developing this game, it was no different for me. So even though I'm Torres Strait Islander and my dad's from the Torres Straits, I still had to engage community and go through that cultural protocols and do that cultural engagement, right? So I had an elder involved. I engaged my family with it. I did my own research, further research. I engaged other Torres Strait Islanders in the community. I engaged Indigenous organizations inside and outside the university. I even engaged Aboriginal people to come play the game. So I went through all these different processes to engage the community and involve them in that process, which is that cultural protocol process, right? So that's kind of how we did it in education, and it was beneficial in terms of, it was quite a good method by going through the cultural process as well, because as well as fulfilling my cultural responsibilities, I was also fulfilling things like the game design and test requirements. So things like play testing and quality assurance. So I was getting input for that. So I was getting both cultural input and gameplay input by going through that process. So that's kind of how I explained it in the education class. We also use it as a tool to encourage Indigenous adolescents to become more interested in STEM. So we got high school students for the winter school and the summer school to come play the game and kind of show them different opportunities to get involved in STEM. And yeah, so there were some issues we encountered with my game. This was a really sort of early implementation of virtual reality. So I think maybe 2016 I started, 2017, 2018. And I was still using the Xbox game controls to do it. And one of the issues that you have with this is when you find that your digital body moves, but your physical body is kind of stationary, people tend to get sick, and they have some sort of desynchronization. But if you've got the rods, if you've got those kind of rods that you move around with, and your body is moving the same as your physical body is moving the same as your digital body or what you're seeing in the VR world, you tend to have less issues. So these were some issues that we had when we began with. The product costs, so these headsets are quite expensive. They were very expensive before, still expensive now, but even more so before. We had to make sure that we had hygiene protocols and hygiene processes in place when we were doing the game and when we were implementing it in the class. For my particular game, there was extended development time, 2 years or so, and a lot of labor required to go into it as well. And because this is one of the old ones, there were issues around mobility as well, and implementing it and how people could use the VR headset. But nonetheless, overall, I think our implementations of Torres Strait virtual reality added to the class and provided new methods to communicate content and perspectives to students. I think VR gives students another option to learn through very visual and experiential styles of learning. So you can take on the view of the narrator or someone else's perspective. And I think with VR, there's a lot of, this is especially important, and there's a lot of opportunities for places like the humanities and the social sciences, because a lot of our work often deals with human experience. So I think VR can add to that, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for that. Yeah, so that concludes my talk. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That's another very exciting presentation. It's a project with yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions or comments? Anything? Yeah, Shun?
Yes. Red, thank you very much for interesting presentation. Before delivering, you basically used virtual VR technology and materials for different courses, but prior to those technology and material being available, how did you actually deliver the same courses? And can you tell me about the kind of differences between the actually previous course materials and the impact, opinions arising from the student type of stuff, pros and cons type of stuff, if you have?
Yeah, so I actually didn't teach the courses. So these courses were other lecturers that I partnered with. So I imagine this is just, so I could probably tell you maybe about the games course. So the games course I was a tutor in. So for that one, we probably would have just shown maybe 2D games and got the student to play 2D games, or we would have shown videos of different examples. But we didn't necessarily have them bring in kind of a VR game and get them to play through it that way. So if it wasn't a VR game, we probably would have reverted to 2D games or just showing them videos for that. I thought they enjoyed the experience, and I thought it was something different for them. A lot of the times it was the first time that they'd ever played VR. For the other courses, I imagine they would kind of just be, it would be the same sort of thing. Maybe they have written materials or maybe video materials, but I couldn't be sure about that one. In terms of the, we didn't necessarily collect any formal data when we were doing it. We were kind of just implementing it and seeing how it was. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Nice.
Yeah, I got one question from the Grazia. She lost the connection, so quickly sent me a text on chat. So could you please tell us about the student reaction? They react to that learning, particular learning.
Yeah, so like I said before, I think for a lot of the students, it was the first time that they had ever played something like that. So I think a lot of them quite enjoyed it, and it was probably a change from what they normally would have got otherwise. And like I said, I think it kind of gave them that first person kind of perspective that they normally wouldn't have get. So say if it was the environmental policy course, I imagine they would have just been told about native title, and they would have been told about how native title is about facilitating, like it's about having that cultural connection to the land. But if you're in the game and you're doing it, and you're going through and you're doing these little processes and these little things, I think they felt it would have been different for them, because they would have been doing it, the processes and going through the process and the cultural journey themselves. So I think most of them everyone that I talked to, they enjoyed it and they thought it was a new perspective on how to do it. But like I said, we didn't really collect any formal data for that.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? No. Oh, hi, Susie. Yeah.
Yeah, just to say this is fantastic, and I think the applications of this can be absolutely amazing. So I'm working on an ARC project in Adelaide with the Ghana people and the Ghana language, and so to combine as we've seen with Grazia's presentation, so to be able to think about combining not just enhancing language skills, but actually to build in some cultural knowledge and some culturally appropriate and environmental stuff as well. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'll be really interested to take a closer look at that. Thanks very much, Rep.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we can have a chat afterwards. But yeah, language and culture are very well connected. So.
Yeah, no, it looks like a really, really good approach, especially to try and get the younger members of the community actually involved and enthusiastic about it with something they can perhaps relate to if they're into games and that kind of thing. It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Well, like when I said I was implementing it with the high school students in the winter school and the summer school, they loved it. They were just sitting there like the entire time. And, you know, like, I think VR varies. I've put people in there they're in there for like 2 minutes and then they get sick, but you can put people in there for people stay there for like an hour and they'll be fine with it. Do you know what I mean? So it really varies, but I think the kids like it. Yeah.
And also the idea of getting a template together in a game or a setup that you can share across different disciplines as well, because we've got Indigenous knowledges courses, we've got language courses. There's already, I think, media are doing some immersive technology actual courses as well, but to bring all those together and use it in that way, that's just fantastic. So,
yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Nice.
Okay, any further by no? Still have with 5 minutes, but yeah, we haven't got next. Yeah. Rate. It's you have 4 or 5 minutes. If anything you like that you experience with, because many people haven't used that technology, including myself. So
yeah, I don't mind if you want me to talk or.
Probably ask too much.
Yeah, I don't know if
in terms of cost, what kind of cost you?
Oh, the costings of them. Well, it kind of varies. So, like I've seen a lot. So I've built this. I built the game, right? And like I said, the issue with the game was that it was very labor intensive, and it took a lot of time. It took about 2 years to develop, amongst, you know, while I was doing other sorts of things. But I think if you want to go for something that's lean, something like kind of what other people presented before, like in 360, that could have also just as big an impact as well. So it's important that to take that into consideration as well, because you can buy like a Google headset for like, you know, this Google Cardboard. You can buy them for like $5 or $10. Something like this. Really? Yeah. You can get them very cheap. But something like this, it could cost several thousands of dollars, because you have to have the computer and then the headset. Less so because there's things like the Oculus Quest now. But to implement this, you may better be off going for some of the smaller things before going to the big ones. But yeah, so that the cost was the cost for this was that we had to buy a laptop, which could have been $3,000, $4,000.
Exactly.
Plus the headset, which is about $1,000, so $5,000 all up. So you've got to take those costings into effect as well.
Wow.
But there's new things like the Oculus Quest, and they're just as good or as running the same program as potentially as what I built my game on. So.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, Ruth.
Bye.
Okay. So we now ready for fourth presentation. It seems that we have Carlos. Is there Carlos there? No. So yeah. So I asked the next presenter, the last of the day, Dr. Sri Nate. Is it correct pronunciation? Sorry, so Thai name and
Yes,
her
it's
colleague. Okay, thank you. So from the Nanyang Technology University, Technology University. Yeah.
Yep. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Very good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Are you ready? You can start. Thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone. I am Surine Taratarumkiat. This is my colleague, Dr. Herschel Ling. We are from Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. So, okay, let's share my screen first. Can you see it? Right. Okay. So, okay. Can you see my screen now?
No, it's not shared. You can see.
Your camera. This one. Okay, let me check first.
Yep.
Okay. So I think, Dr. Yong, can you mute the mic? So maybe we can see the full screen of my presentation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you need a kind of permit.
The
Ethan, are you there? Can you?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone need to mute the mic, then you can see my presentation. Yeah. Can you see it now?
No, it haven't yet. Can you see the button, share screen on the bottom of the whole screen of Zoom? And you clicked.
Because I use another. I need to share my camera instead. Okay, so let's see. This one, like has. Okay, can you see?
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
we
I
can
can
see the
see it.
screen.
Yeah, thank you. I couldn't see the chat. Oh, thank you.
Okay, so okay, you see my name, you see my, and then okay. Okay, so I would like to start my presentation now. Okay, today we are talking about, I would like to talk about the application of 360 virtual tour with the foreign language learning. So in the past, our team didn't do the virtual tour, but we start from other things. Like our team learned about the 360 VR technology for a few years ago and has since tried to integrate it with the foreign language learning. Let me show you briefly about our past experiences, what we have done about the VR in the last few years. Our experiment in the past focuses mainly on the use of the 360 VR video. 360 VR video is a video recording where a view in every direction of the scene is recorded simultaneously. That means when the video is playing, viewer can choose what angle they want to see it from. And we made the 360 VR video of many events and places to teach our students. Our team previously utilized a 360 camera to take video of the event or the tourist attraction in Thailand as a part of teaching Thai as a foreign language. If you see in this video, the instructor played the role of the tour guide, bringing the student to different places, teaching them about those places on both Thai language and culture. As you are seeing, we brought them immersive experience of wandering around a Thai temple that we call Wat Po here, both outside and inside. So like I told you that the instructor will take a role as a tour guide. It's like we are the YouTuber, but with the 360 degree. We also took them to the convenience store, the shopping 7-Eleven in Thailand, and tried to show them how different comparing to the convenience store in Singapore. Because in Thailand, we have a lot of product more than Singapore. And we also bring them to teach, bring them to the Victory Monument in Thailand and teach them a lesson about the direction, showing them how to go to a famous Thai boat noodle restaurant. So you will see that is the roundabout. So I think it's the advantage of this 360 VR video, because if it's the normal direction, it's easy to say turn left and turn right, right? But if it's a turn around, it's quite difficult to let the student know the exact location. Apart from that, we also record a concert of the Thai famous singer to engage them with the meaning of the song as well. By putting on the head-mounted display, or we call HMD, students were able to look in all directions and feel as if they were truly immersed in those settings with the instructor. But nevertheless, the use of 360 video in teaching Thai as a foreign language has the limitation that our team found. Even though the students were able to look around in all directions, but the part that the student could take was already predetermined by the designer of the learning video. That means, in other words, that we can say that the video was unidirectional and the student has no freedom over which way they could go to explore their surroundings. So that's why we try to overcome this limitation. Our team decided to experiment with creating a virtual tour in which the student would have more control over the virtual reality, along with increase the freedom to explore their surroundings to expand their learning opportunity. So the concept of our virtual tour is like indoor Google Street View. We started by modeling different kinds of places, such as beauty salon in Bangkok, as you are seeing now. And also residential house, this is my house, so that we could learn about the modeling process and how to improve our model. Both beauty salon and the housing were created by a consumer grade of 360 camera released a few years ago. So if you notice, it was slightly lacking in resolution. The next one I would like to say about how to create a virtual tour. And in short, the detail of the panoramic picture of the location found in the target country were taken. So we took a lot of panorama, a ton of panoramas. We stepped aside for a few meters within that place and took a photo, and then moved and eventually covered up the whole area. Then after that, we tried to put all panorama that we took and put them together in the foreground, corresponding to the position in the place where they were shot. After that, to create the seamless virtual setting that allow the viewing from the multiple angle, which can then be used as a learning tool in the foreign language instruction. So in this project, our team selected an outlet of the convenience store chain 7-Eleven in Thailand as a setting of a virtual tour that you are seeing now, that I would like to show you a demo. You can walk around freely in the store, look around, zoom in to see the detail about the price and the label. Yeah, so the quality of the photo, I think is quite good, because even you can zoom, you will still see the price. You may use the consumer level of 360 camera available in the market, which are available in the market to shoot. But the 360 camera that's shown here are the one that we tried in the past. But we try to compare the quality to our GoPro. So our GoPro is better for the quality. So this is our GoPro. This is the GoPro 7 that we use. I believe that if we use the new one, the GoPro 8 is maybe better when we shoot. Okay, this is the one when we shoot. So we have this GoPro, right? And then we shoot every direction, move like 360. Also we shoot on top and also shoot it in the bottom as well. So after that, we merge it together in the program. For the program or application that we use, so actually there are many the virtual creator application in the market. So you can just Google it. But for our case, we use 3D Vista. Apart from that, you can also find the Pano, TrueVR, KR Pano, or even you can use the Tour Creator or just use the Google Street View apps, which is free. And or maybe it's not expensive. Why we choose the convenience store? Is there a specific reason why we decide to go to this convenience store? Yes, we have the reason. So a convenience store in like 7-Eleven is linked closely to our people lifestyle. Like in Japan, that you can find a 7-Eleven in every corner in the city. According to the statistics, Thailand has around 11,000 stores, which rank the second in the world. There are also so many online groups in community among Thai people which discuss about the product in 7-Eleven, for example, like what should we try, what should we buy, what should we eat, what should we combine eating between these two products together. Moreover, the same way for the foreigner that there are so many review clips on YouTube suggest about interesting product and dishes in Thailand 7-Eleven. We believe that a lesson presented through a virtual tour is a visual and special approach to learn the common thing in our daily life. Because there are so many things to learn in a convenience store, like common stuff we find in our daily life activity, like a food, household product, or we can also learn the conversation between finding and buying the stuff. With the virtual reality, the students are engaging the sense, emotion, and cognitive function of the brain, tapping into the most powerful aspect of the retention. Another advantage that we think is technology can provide is to bridge the gap between AH and SA student. AH home student will refer to the foreign language learner who study that foreign language at their home country. For example, Japanese students study English in Osaka or in Japan. SA student refer to the study abroad student, refer to the learner who actually travel abroad to study that language. For example, Thai student go to Europe to study English, or any country where English is a native speaker. Or Australian student travel to learn Thai in Thailand. But since it's not always an option for everyone country to study, especially during this COVID-19 situation. So we try to replicate experience in the classroom using. Let's talk about the learning design on this virtual tour. Mainly, we the learning project convey tour into two main topics, which are relate and linguistic. For the cultural relate, Thailand is well known and eating culture. There are a lot and teach about that in the Thai convenience. On the linguistic side, lesson of the language like direction, number, common conversation are our focus, and as well as the vocabulary of the common stuff, the stuff that we use in daily life, we also can teach them. And how do we use a virtual tour in our classroom setting? Actually, traditionally, we would like to let the student experience the tour with the HMD headset. However, due to the hygienic issue during the COVID, sharing the headset might not be recommended. So we need to change our practice a bit. This is the one that we try to conduct to the class with the student. For the last group of the student, let's say if we have in Thai class, we have around 15 to 20 students, how to conduct the lesson in the big classroom. So we employ a larger curved screen in our VR studio to help providing the immersive experience to the student. This screen is powered by two computers, two graphic cards working together. But if you don't have this large curved screen, so I think you can find the projector in your university. Try to find the big one as much as possible. So because if you can get the bigger one, the student can see more detail and will feel more immersive. Apart from that, we also have the remote learning. We set up an online session for both individual or a group of the student. So the situation can be, first, the instructor lead the navigation while everyone is watching, like I am teaching about the direction to the student. Second, let the student to explore the store on their own. I give the link of the 7-Eleven to everyone, and then they can tour, walk around by themselves. But after, I would like them to come back in the same page together. So I just ask them to come back to the main room. Third, the instructor can assign a particular student, like I am assigned this student to find something for me or to complete the mission. The scenario can be as a quiz that where the student gives the instruction or mission or direction to the student to follow. Like in this video, I asked them to find a Thai snack for me, so they can find it. Apart from that, our team also put the clickable, the item, for example, like as you see it's now, some item in the store are clickable and will pop up a close-up photo with more information, because sometimes the camera that we choose cannot see the detail. So we just use our iPhone to take the photo of each item to make a pop-up like this. So we are working more on more close-up item in the store. This one, we also create a game or a quiz as a mission for the student. In this video, I asked the student to buy the snack, to buy the fish sauce, and to buy the seasoning within 2 minutes, and ask them to find the product. Or maybe we can guide them about the direction as well. Like this one, if the student can find it, then you will see that they will get the score, one score here. And the next one, I asked them to find the seasoning sauce and fish sauce. So if they can find it, they will also get the point, the mark as well. One more mark here, and this one. Okay, now they get 3 scores and they complete within 50 seconds. Apart from that, here is about the game design. So because we got the advantage of this kind of technology that we can walk around. So I think the suitable game or lesson that we can teach or ask the student to do it. The good thing is about the finding something or locating item or the following our direction. After we ask them to find something, after they found, we may add other quiz. For example, like make them to do some calculation. For example, if they can read the promotion label or promotion plate, so they can also calculate from our given budget to them. Like this one is the kind of the game design that you can do it. Or we can ask them to do, okay, please find the thing that Muslim can eat, please find the thing for the, if that means they cannot find the one that include the pork things, right? Okay, we can also use this one for the game design as well. We think that 7-Eleven is very good material or very good thing that we can adapt to many levels of the language. So the product is there. So we just try to think our question that suitable for the student level. This one is our next project. Actually, we started already. So we shoot the apartment in Singapore, and because of everyone for the thing in the thing in the house, many languages also use the same thing. So we try to adapt this model with other language in our center as well. So this is what we did and what we plan to do. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Thank you very much. Another very lovely presentation. Okay, open to the floor for any questions, any comments. Thank you. Remember. No? Yeah. May I ask you the quick question then?
Okay, sure.
Do you use this the program or this material for your course, formal course?
Yeah. I use this for my course and try to use with many level because of we have many products here, right? So for example, like we may choose level 1, we will choose the product that the vocabulary that we learn in level 1 and then focus on that. So I use this one to teach the student first, to conduct the lesson in the class about the convenience store, about the how to, like the classifier, because for example, like we try to grouping the product, right? So the student may not know how to say that group product. So we can try to teach that. And also we can also make a quiz of this. So I use this in my class. Yeah, around 3 times per semester. Yeah.
Okay.
But only for Thai language for this, because this is a Thai convenience store.
No. But does it mean that you also assess their performance in some way?
Yeah, for example, like if I ask them to find something for me, so I can just say something. In the future, we try to record our voice and it attaches into the program. So the student can listen and then walk around. And then if they tap the correct thing, so they will get the point. That means they understand what we want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. There's a question from Grazia who lost her connection to chat. Her question is that what is the student's reaction in using these tools for learning the language? What is the reaction?
Okay, first thing, because of many students cannot go to Thailand during this time because of the COVID, right? So when they can see this one, they feel like they are there. And then they can imagine what they want to buy in 7-Eleven, because comparing 7-Eleven in Singapore and in Thailand is totally different. So they can imagine what they want to buy and they feel like quite immersive to go there. Even they didn't wear the goggle when they watch, but if they wear the Google the headset, it will be even better experience. So they are very happy about this because it's quite new for them, and then they can walk around. Normally, the student familiar with the Google Street View, they can walk around, but they can see outside or outdoor. But for this case, they can see inside. And what I shot is quite is a lot in the detail. They can zoom in, zoom out to see the details. So this one, they also happy. It depends on the lesson that you teach. For example, I also teach them about the tips on how to notice the bestseller things, about the promotion things. So they think it's if they go to Thailand, we imagine what is happening there.
Yeah. The effect is because of the time to technology in our language. So now Chinese, I think more and more will be, in the future, adopt this our language teaching. They are in the process of developing more materials. Like it. And the word spread on campus. Like if you study language, you experience a new, learning materials.
Yeah, it's like promote our language in the same time.
There's another question from Suzy. That did you use any specific software to create the games and tasks? Software,
I use the 3D Vista software. So to stitch all things, to stitch from the production that I took after I took the all panorama, right? I also stitched them together. So this program is quite good that when you shoot the photo, like 5 or 6 photos, it's like a jigsaw that they will put them together automatically. So this is a good thing. And for the software, like the game that I asked the student to play, is also run on the software of 3D Vista. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear the name of the software. What software was it?
3D Vista.
3D Vista, thanks.
Okay, I can show you again. This one, 3D Vista. The left one, 3D Vista Virtual Tool.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, there's another question that you used this to teach remotely. Yeah? Did you find issues with lagging or connection in doing the virtual reality?
Okay, we try it, and yes, we had that that problem. Okay, so first, I try with Zoom, but it's quite delayed when the student move, and it's delayed around 1 or 2 seconds. That's why I try to run everything on the 3D Vista. But for the 3D Vista, it's best if you are in the same network. But if not, I think I tried before, around 90% has no problem. Yeah. So I run everything on 3D Vista. That's why I stick to this program from the production process to the implement process. Yeah.
Okay. The Singapore is the internet connection is a very good quality. Eh? This is what I heard. Yeah.
Internet is good, so it should not be the problem.
Yeah. Okay. Any further questions? Think? Yeah. No. You don't have. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Sweet Nate and her. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Don't think we have Carlos today. So perhaps, no. Do you have a Carlos? No. No. So perhaps we can close the session. Yeah. Bit early. Didn't have one presentation. So thank you all those speakers for your contribution to the session. Also thank you all audiences for participating in the session. And weekend. I hope you all have enjoyed the presentation as much as I have. Also, just before close the session, I would like to acknowledge Sarah. She's not here today, but she, from our school professional team, she did many things for this session. Without her support, it couldn't happen this session. So, okay, that's all. I hope you all have a good time for the reminder of the weekend. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, and see you.
Thank you very much.
Sometime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Hope
you.
you have lots of ideas to bring forward. Bye.
Bye.
Ethan, do you want to stop the recording?
Oh, yes. Could you please?